Excellencies, dear colleagues, on behalf of the International Energy Agency, I welcome you both here in the room and colleagues around the world. Welcome to International Energy Agency headquarters to Paris for the Global Conference on Energy and AI. As far as we know, it is the first time that at such a conference we are bringing the technology companies, energy sector, and governments together to discuss a key topic, a key trend, namely the rise of AI. We are at the IEA, we are a number-driven organization. When we look at the numbers, we are ourselves were, I should say, surprised to see how big the AI industry is today. And only the companies around this table, their market capitalization combined is about 15 trillion US dollars around this table only. And again, we are an energy organization. To put in a context, today, the top very few number of the largest technology companies, their overall capital investment is as much as the entire US oil and gas industry investments. Just to put in a context. And here we would like to discuss two things basically. What AI means for energy. We want to discuss this. And what the energy sector means for AI. At the IEA, we have our regular work. Many of you are familiar with the work we are doing on a regular basis, but we are also keen to identify new trends and also look at the promising innovations around the world. In fact, digitalization is not a new concept for us. In 2017, we have made the first report on digitalization, energy, and some of the companies, in fact, many of the companies around this table were contributing to that. But the speed of innovation on AI meant we have to put a good and important focus on this very issue. Now, what is, first of all, let me say a few words, share with you a few thoughts on the energy for AI. So when I discuss with my colleagues, I think the discussion ended up with all the experts at the IEA together with a clear message. There is no AI without energy. So it is clear to us. And I say energy, but in fact, more specifically, electricity. Dear colleagues, when we look at the energy world, we see an important transformation. Mid-18th century, we had the Industrial Revolution, when we look at the history, where the age of coal was dominating the energy system. This has been followed by the age of oil and gas, which is still with us, will be with us years to come, but we see the steps of age of electricity is coming very quickly around the world. I give you one number. In the last 10 years, global energy demand increased significantly. But global electricity demand increased 2 times higher than the global energy demand. 2 times higher. And when we look at the next 10 years, with a very conservative assumption, global electricity demand growth will be 6 times higher than the global energy demand. Very strong growth. And it is driven by many factors, but 3 of them are important. And for some of the colleagues, it may be surprising, these drivers. By far, the largest driver of global electricity consumption is increasing number of air conditioners around the world. Okay? In US and China, or put another word, let's put it US and Japan, maybe if it's more representative. US and Japan, 90% of households, they own a air conditioner, 90%. In Nigeria, it is 5%. Indonesia, 18%. India, 20%. With the increasing income levels, people buy air conditioners, and of course, the increasing temperature is another driver here. So this is the first driver. The second driver of a very strong global electricity consumption in the next years to come is the electrification of the transportation sector, electric cars and others. And the third one is the data centers around the world is another driver of global electricity consumption. So one number that my colleagues told me, and I was really very impressed, they say the electricity consumption of a data center today is equal to the electricity consumption of 100,000 households equivalent, an average city in many parts of the world. But the issue is, which makes it a bit more complex, even though the global average of the electricity consumption coming from AI may not be today so impressive, it is very impressive in some local context. For example, I have the number from Virginia in the United States. 30% of the electricity consumption is due to data centers. And in Ireland, we have the, Mr. Minister with us here, about 20% of the electricity consumed is consumed by the data centers. So therefore, the availability of energy for AI will determine the location of the data centers. This is one issue which we think is an important element to consider. And when we talk with the technology companies, they tell us that they need energy, electricity, I should say, grids, and permits. These are the 3 things that the technology companies wanted to have. But the energy sector also needs urgent answers to their questions. First of all, how much electricity will be needed? They have to know that for planning. And how fast and where, which location? And if there's a mismatch between the technology companies and the energy decision makers, this may well be not a good news. And it is one of the reasons we think energy for AI, how much, when, and under which conditions is a question that we need to answer. This is the first point. The second, the role of AI in energy. We think the AI could have a great potential to transform the electricity sector. And there are many areas for that, and I wanted to highlight 3 of them. First, AI through transforming the science. There are many examples of that, but in my view, most impressive or most important one from our angle is the batteries, making the batteries cheaper and also better. And there's a lot of work going on there. Second area, is an area that is for us, for the IEA and many of the governments and the regulators, a headache. The AI can transform and optimize the energy infrastructure, especially the grids, to make them smarter and to make them more efficient, and they can maximize the capacity of the lines, which is another area that we can see a major impact from the AI and the energy sector. There are many others, but I can tell you one more. The choices that the AI industry will make, which energy sources when, will be also very important. And today, according to, again, our numbers, we see that the AI sector is by far the largest corporate sector in terms of renewable consumption, major renewable consumption. Plus, there is already planned almost 10 gigawatts of SMRs, small modular reactors, the AI companies have been announcing. So this is the second area. So how much energy and when needed for AI, and how AI can change the energy sector. Two important dynamics here. So in this context, as International Energy Agency, we like to have or try to address complex issues, we have decided to take this issue as a priority for our work. And most important one, we thought our contribution to the players, to technology companies, governments, energy companies would be to put numbers on the table. How much, for whom, and when. We are a data organization. We love data, as I said. If you ask me how much is the investment in Vietnam for solar PV last month spent, I can tell you in 1 minute. I can tell you the oil consumption in Brazil for the pharmaceutical industry. So we have all the numbers, but we want to have the numbers related to AI. So it is the reason we have decided that this rather patchy area of data when it comes to AI to shed light on that. So it is the reason to make this discussion more structured way, the AI and energy and AI, I have commissioned a report from the IEA coming spring 2025, and my colleague Lara Kozzi and her team will lead a major effort within the IEA, but also with the stakeholders around this table and beyond, to shed a light on this very critical area for the technology sector, but also for the energy sector. We have been working on this for some time, and we organized several small events in New York and in Paris, but this is the first one, such a big conference. And the idea of this conference is twofold. One, there are different stakeholders, basically three: technology sector, all the key players, almost all the key players, governments, and also energy sector. So we understand each other, what are the preoccupations, what are the demands from each other, and to see that we have a dialogue between these three important players. Second motivation of organizing this is a bit selfish from IEA point of view. We want to learn which areas we should, in our report coming spring next year, we should focus based on the discussion we are going to have today, throughout the day, as we have excellent colleagues to share their views. So this is the reason that we have invited many colleagues, the ministers, the business executives, and from both tech and energy sector, and we will be very happy to hear your views in a candid way. And I wanted to tell you that this first session is open to public. It is live broadcasted around the world, and I understand that thousands of colleagues, professionals around the world following this, and this, of course, it puts an additional dimension to our discussion. So, dear colleagues, before I go to there are some invited speakers. I am very much myself, really very much looking forward to hear from them how they see the context, the problematic from their perspective. I wanted to share an information with you that at the IEA we not only analyze the promising new trends, but we also apply them. And some of you may know that we have I guess everybody knows we have a flagship publication, World Energy Outlook. And now what we have done is that we have adopted this technology for our World Energy Outlook. So we have a VO Chat GPT. You will see that my colleagues will run in a moment. It is really, you can ask any question you want. And as if you are talking with one of the authors of the World Energy Outlook, you can get all the answers. And when my colleagues told me and make me a demonstration of this, I was really extremely impressed, because I work on this publication almost 3 decades, and it would have make my life much easier if it was 30 years ago. So many things I did for nothing. So this is, I understand, it is much easier and much faster. It came a bit late, but better late than never. It's a great, and we want to do it for other work of the IEA, and thank you very much for giving a look at that. So, dear colleagues, now we are all looking forward to hear the leaders of this very issue. And as I said, we have from all 3 areas, the colleagues from 3 sectors. I will go one by one. There are about over 10 colleagues. They will give a 5 minutes, maximum of 5 minutes of their perspective, which we will, as IEA Secretariat, listen very carefully, take note of, and I am sure you will find it very interesting. I believe you'll find it very interesting, I should say. Now, I would like to start with Google. We have Mrs. Kate Brandt, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer of Google. And if I can ask, hi, Kate. So how does Google see the energy AI and AI energy context? Over to you, Mrs. Brandt.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Birol, and to your wonderful team at the IEA. I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you. Such a critical moment for us to be having this conversation across public-private sectors, as well as academic institutions. This is extremely timely from my perspective. So I would just say, as I look back at 2024, I think we're really beginning to see how AI is able to drive really critical new solutions across our economy. And you probably noted several weeks ago, my colleague Demis and several of his collaborators were awarded a Nobel Prize for their work on AlphaFold, which predicted the structure of virtually all 200 million known proteins. So I think this is such a great example of the potential that AI has to really drive positive impact for society. And we absolutely at Google believe that to be the case as well when it comes to climate change. I'm sure you all noted what the World Meteorological Association shared just before COP29 around 2024 most likely being, again, the hottest year on record and breaking 1.5 degrees C. So it's an extremely important moment for us to be deploying this solution really responsibly and effectively. And we published a piece of work last year with BCG that looked at that potential, trying to size what is that potential. And what we concluded was roughly 10% of the emissions reductions that are required by 2030 could be enabled by AI solutions. That's roughly equivalent to the emissions of the European Union. So this is a very big opportunity space if we can seize it. And I think there's no better place to start than the energy sector, to some of the excellent points Dr. Birol shared. So I'll build upon that to give you a sense of the 3 areas where we're seeing AI really being able to play a key role. The first is around information, whether that's chatting with the World Energy Outlook, which is great. I love that you all are doing that. Or, for example, we have a tool called Solar API, where we've used AI to analyze aerial and satellite imagery to provide solar developers with much better information around the solar potential of rooftops to speed and reduce friction to getting more solar deployed. This is available in 40 countries around the world. The second area where we see a lot of opportunity for AI, which you noted, Dr. Birol, is optimization. And my colleague Paige is here today on the other side of the room, who leads an initiative called Tapestry, which is part of our X Moonshot Factory. And what Paige and her team are doing is they're looking at how can AI better map our grid networks, provide grid operators with more information on how they can decarbonize more quickly. And they've seen early successes in Chile, for example, who has an ambitious goal to be carbon neutral by 2050. And then the last area I would highlight is prediction. AI is very powerful when it comes to predicting weather, including extreme weather events, which we know really have an impact on renewable energy generation. And we've built tools like our Flood Hub, which is a really groundbreaking global hydrologic model that enables us to now predict riverine flooding 7 days in advance for over 100 countries around the world. So it is a huge opportunity space. And of course, Dr. Birol noted that we also need to manage the energy footprint, as well as water and materials, by the way, in a highly responsible manner. And so the way that we look at that at Google is also threefold. The first is the efficiency of the data centers, all the way down to the chip, where we're seeing in one generation up to 67% increases in efficiency, and also in how the data centers are designed to continue to get more compute out of the same amount of electricity. Equally, we've been sharing tested best practices that we're using at Google for model training that have shown that we can make it much, much more efficient, up to 100 times more efficient from an energy perspective and 1,000 times more efficient from an emissions perspective. And then lastly, of course, carbon-free energy. We want to, as much as possible, be enabling these data centers to be powered on carbon-free energy. We've been at this for a very long time at Google. Since 2010, we've built a portfolio of 14 gigawatts of power purchase agreements around the world. That's going to represent roughly an investment of $16 billion by 2040. And we are very focused on new clean firm technologies. So you may have seen there have been some really exciting announcements coming from the tech sector recently around nuclear and advanced nuclear. We made an announcement with Kairos, who I know is also here with us today, around an order book model that was suggested by the Department of Energy for 500 megawatts of power from SMRs in 2030 and beyond. And we're also working with utilities to create new models. We worked with NV Energy earlier this year, which is the utility in Nevada, to create a new clean energy tariff that allows us to do planning. So we were noting, Dr. Birol, that we need to create better certainty around what is the requirement going to be for data center load. We can use this model of a clean transition tariff to do that planning with utilities directly rather than putting that on the back of our ratepayers. And just the last thing I would note is I think that there's also a really clear need for us to get coordinated around some of the policy reforms that are going to be required to unlock that potential I noted. Transmission system planning, we need to do that much better, improving electricity market structures, and also enabling access to carbon-free energy sources. So I would close by saying we certainly don't have all the answers. It is so critical that you all have taken up this work at the IEA, and we stand ready to support you. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brandt. And the things that you have mentioned that the AI can contribute to energy sector of, in my view, of revolutionary nature, even the optimization of the grids, because we have a major grid problem today in the electricity sector around the world, would be really of crucial importance. Looking forward to working with you. Now, I go to one of our member countries, to Japan, and We have the Vice Minister for International Affairs from METI, Mr. Matsuo. And the question is, Mr. Minister, how does Japan see the role of AI in the energy sector, and what kind of preparations Japan is making in terms of addressing the energy demand coming from the AI? Over to you, please.
Thank you, Fatih, for your introduction. And not only introduction, I sincerely appreciate Fatih and IA Secretariat for hosting this timely conference, given the rapid growth of data center investment due to the advancement of digitalization and the preparation of AI. The increasing incidence of extreme weather events and large-scale natural disaster worldwide is a clear indication that we need to act now. At the same time, securing a stable energy supply is an urgent issue in light of Russia's aggression against Ukraine and escalating tensions in the Middle East. In this context, we must realize a triple breakthrough of simultaneously achieving energy security, economic growth, and climate change mitigation. AI has a great potential to accelerate the realization of these goals by improving the accuracy of weather forecast, optimizing renewable energy generation, and increasing energy efficiency. And in the meantime, it's necessary to appropriately address the challenges in supporting the smooth introduction of AI. And given the AI becomes a game changer for entire industries, investment in data centers and cutting-edge semiconductors will have a significant impact on a country's economic growth. And Japan aims to become a hub for international data distribution and will provide support to this end. Under these circumstances, construction of a number of data center and semiconductor factories are now rapidly underway in Japan. Domestic electricity demand is expected to increase for the first time in 2 decades. We believe the following points are crucial from the perspective of promoting the smooth introduction of AI while ensuring a stable energy supply. Firstly, preparation for uncertainty is critical. Increasing in electricity demand due to AI could yield an opportunity to deploy large-scale decarbonized power sources. But of course, opportunity is also a challenge. Meanwhile, in order to achieve a sufficient and stable power supply, it is necessary to expand decarbonized power sources such as renewable energy and nuclear power. To achieve this, we need to create a business environment for increased investment in decarbonized power sources and grid development. It's also important to consider setting up power-intensive industries such as data centers in proximity to power sources. This could not only reduce grid construction costs and lead times, but also promote local electricity production for local consumption. Data centers need a stable, round-the-clock and affordable electricity supply. So there are various options for decarbonized power sources, including variable renewables with batteries, nuclear, thermal power with CCS, and geothermal. We expect further analysis by the IEA in this regard. In recent years, major enterprises are investing in renewables and nuclear power as decarbonized power sources. In particular, in my view, nuclear power is expected to become even more important in achieving both stable energy supply and decarbonization in the future. Japan will continue to restart existing nuclear power plants and develop and construct next-generation innovative reactors while maintaining and strengthening nuclear technology, human resources, and supply chains based on the premise of energy safety. Second, we have to promote energy efficiency. it's important to enhance the introduction of more energy-efficient equipment in data centers, including information process technologies and cooling equipments. Japan will continue to develop and implement these technologies. In addition to curbing the energy consumption increase due to AI, it's also essential to focus on the positive aspect of using AI to reduce energy consumption. For example, the use of AI is expected to help optimize energy use beyond the level that humans can achieve, leading to a higher level of energy savings as well as improved productivity through factory-wide digital transformation. Japan will update its energy efficiency policy to optimize the system as a whole, in addition to introduction highly efficient equipment. So energy efficiency is the first step toward carbon neutrality and the first step for many companies. And similarly, we expect that AI is used to optimize renewable energy generation. Finally, Japan has started its process to consider its 7th strategic energy plan this May. One of the issues being discussed is how to deal with uncertainties such as future electricity demand and the state of innovation. As a country with limited natural resources, Japan will advance a green transformation and digital transformation and will pursue all technological options to achieve stable energy supply and decarbonization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Take. It is great to hear that the data centers and their electricity consumption growth is another reason why Japan needs to go back to nuclear. Not only maybe the restarting the ones, maybe also thinking of some additional aspects there. And also you mentioned the geothermal. For the colleagues who are not aware, on 13th of December, we are releasing a major report on geothermal energy. Very interesting things are happening in geothermal energy, and new horizons are opening up, and you will see our numbers. We may see that geothermal energy can play a role which is much bigger than it played up to now as a result of technological innovation. So many thanks to Japan. I now go to Microsoft, followed by the Emirates. Can I go to Mrs. Melanie Nagakawa, who is the Chief Sustainability Officer of Microsoft? Melanie, where are you? You are there. Very nice to see you. What do you see, I mean, from as Microsoft? What kind of potential that the AI has in order to provide even more innovative solutions? Over to you. Thank you very much for coming over.
Great, thank you. And what an incredible room. Thank you so much for the IEA for convening this incredibly large roundtable for an important convening that I hope we have more of going forward. And I appreciate the fact that you've launched this new report process with Laura. It's going to be great to partner together. So one of the things that I wanted to pick up on, and I think you're going to see this theme reiterated both today, and it's picking up on themes that we heard yesterday in the really productive workshops, is really on the dual nature of energy for AI and AI for energy. And I'd love to offer a few comments in this. The first is the power of partnerships. This room is an example of that partnership potential, but it's also one that we need IEA's further support and emphasis around. I highlight the partnership between the energy sector and the AI and technology sectors are being so vital in securing a sustainable, a prosperous future that accelerates the path to net zero. We're seeing this already today with many of these partnerships between these companies, but we also know that there's a growing gap around the 700 million people that still lack access to safe, reliable power. And there's opportunity here to connect the digital context with the renewable energy and carbon-free sources of power, and the role that this team around the table can play in closing that gap in the global south between both digital connectivity and energy access. The second piece I want to highlight, in addition to partnerships, is the growing potential of AI to advance and accelerate the clean energy transition. I really appreciated the comments already today. You highlighted in a couple areas. You highlighted science and data. Both are being incredible areas. And I'd love to give a little bit more data to the room to share, to highlight really what the potential is. And it's not just potential, it's actually like what I like to call AI in the wild. It's here today, it's already being utilized, and it's already having an effect. So let me share 2 examples. One, you mentioned grid management, dynamic line ratings. I want to highlight a company that Microsoft invested in through the Climate Innovation Fund called Line Vision. Line Vision uses an AI-enabled technology to do dynamic line ratings, and what they've been able to show upon deployment in the UK is they were able to bring on 60% more clean energy capacity on an existing transmission line, which equates to around 600 megawatts of offshore wind power. That's the potential / the reality of what can happen when we actually start to innovate and apply smart technologies and digital technologies to existing transmission. Of course, we need more transmission, but it's a great way in the near term to think about how to utilize and grow more capacity or expand capacity in existing transmission. The second example, you mentioned batteries. Love the example around batteries. Let me put that into context for those who are not familiar with what the potential of AI is already today in battery technology. Earlier this year, Microsoft partnered with the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory to look at 32 million material candidates for different battery technologies. They were able to narrow it down to 18 material candidates in roughly 80 hours. This process of an advanced rapid development of the scientific method you'd normally take months, years, if not longer. And to be able to do that in the course of 1-2 weeks, in the case of IEA, 80 hours is probably 1 week's worth of work for your team. It's pretty incredible and remarkable what we can see happen in this space. The third area I want to highlight is the opportunity around optimizing data centers. As of course, it's not just about what the potential of AI is for accelerating the transition, it's also about the responsibility that companies have. I appreciated your opening and highlighting the range of drivers on the electricity demands in the sector across the, air conditioning, transportation, and data centers. I'd love it to be able to be an example of how we do this well and how we actually accelerate the transition with the investments we make. So 3 areas. One is for a company like Microsoft, we're very much focused on reducing the energy needed to power AI. Everything from things that my colleague talked about on model efficiency, efficiency of code, reducing peak power. We're a founding member in the Green Software Foundation, looking at how we develop and code the AI models, and even looking at the advancements that have happened with small language models. The model you shared earlier today with your WEO GPT, that's an example of some of these small models versus large models. This is the kind of innovation that's happening, and it's the kind of new developments you're seeing at the beginning of this era of AI. The second thing that companies should be thinking about that we ourselves are doing, in addition to reducing the energy needs, is how do you accelerate markets for low carbon materials? So much of where the demand is and the emissions footprint of companies is actually in our supply chain and our value chain. So what can we do to accelerate the market for low carbon materials like low carbon steel, low carbon concrete? We're an investor in a company in Sweden called Stegra. They are hoping to produce a steel that is 95% lower carbon than traditional steel. And then how do we build with that in data centers and other facilities around the world? It's a great example of how we actually take responsibility for our footprint and lower the carbon footprint of the embodied carbon in our growth of data centers, and other markets can follow suit. And the last area is the importance of growing carbon-free energy resources as part of what companies can do in this new era. Microsoft, like many others around the table, are leaders in corporate power purchase agreements for carbon-free power, recently acquiring around 34 gigawatts of carbon-free power in over 24 countries and growing. This type of commitment, I think, is really important. So to close, we need urgent action. The conversation today is about not just the action we need to make, but the actions we're taking today. And I look forward to hearing from others and the actions that are taken around the room. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Nagakawa. This is excellent. And among all the important points you mentioned, the power partnerships, this is very important. It's what we are trying to do. The energy companies, electricity companies, and the tech sector, how they can work better and plan for each other so that we have the maximum efficiency from those partnerships. Now, talking about the energy companies, may I now go to Mr. Mohammed Al-Hamadi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Emirates Nuclear Energy. Where is Mohammed? Mohammed, very nice to see you. I mean, many colleagues mentioned the role of nuclear feeding the data centers, but I think the AI can play a role in order to optimize the nuclear energy production prospects. Over to you, Mr. Al-Hamadi.
Thank you, Dr. Fatih, and very honored and pleased to be here with you as colleagues from across the industries. And I would like to, this morning, welcome their excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. The Executive Director of Dr. Birol, you are absolutely right. There is the demand of AI and data centers is staggering. 2024 have been, we've seen a skyrocketed demand on the electricity specifically. But I would like to maybe take one step back and thank my colleague Melanie there, kind of explaining we have 700 million people plus who don't have energy today, no access to electricity. We have climate change that is coming upon us, and we're also expecting by 2050 electricity demand will double in the horizon. And cloud computing consumption of electrons has been growing over the last decade plus, but in the last 18 months, we've seen the demand of AI, I would say, creeping quickly and very fast. The expected demand of AI, of data center globally by 2026 will hit 1,000 terawatt hours. 1,000 terawatt hours is a huge consumption. It's equivalent to the consumption of Japan. And we are seeing this happening, and this is, I would say, this is maybe the tip of the iceberg compared to the discussion I've had with some of the ultra-scalers who are around us here today. The race to secure clean, reliable baseload electricity is proven in many nations that is achievable. If you look at 15 out of the 25 fastest clean energy build-outs has been delivered through the use of clean electricity from nuclear energy. Countries such as France, Sweden, Canada, US, and also recently the United Arab Emirates, we've managed to deliver 4 reactors with 40 terawatt hours annual production in the last years. Actually, in the last 5 years, UAE managed to reduce its carbon emissions per capita through the use of renewable energy and nuclear to be the fastest in the world in the last 5 years. The proactive approach that need to be led and countries need to adopt to becoming a game changer when it comes to energy portfolios, introduction of renewable and also nuclear. Today, UAE benefits from 40 terawatt hours annual of clean electricity baseload from nuclear power plant. That is around 25% of electricity for the UAE. And in the past 5 years, as I mentioned, we've managed to decarbonize our electricity or carbon footprint, and 75% of that came from the nuclear power plants in Baraka. We brought this project online 12 times faster than the global average. Baraka today prevents 22.4 million tons of CO2 emissions annually. Today, we see nuclear with our expertise in building those reactors safely in a record time and on budget. We have the know-how in the construction, commissioning, operation of these reactors. We have developed the talent of that capabilities in the UAE from white piece of paper all the way to have those reactors operational. We build the institutional knowledge to be able to create those deals in a bankable manner and also deliver them on time and on budget. Moving forward, UAE has a strategic ambition to be a center when it comes to the AI, the artificial intelligence, and also able to commoditize this intelligence. And also, you have taken a pioneering approach to become active stakeholders in the AI economy. But today, AI growth depends, as our colleagues mentioned, on clean electrons, and has to be a baseload clean electrons. In the field of nuclear energy, there is no denying that there's a strong signals in the markets today globally that nuclear energy is in demand. Today, many nations have joined the UAE, and also other nations are joining. We have 31 nations who have committed to tripling nuclear by 2050 to be able to meet net zero. We have 14 bankers who are also committed to finance those projects. Tech giants also betting big on nuclear. Microsoft, Google, Amazon have been completed the multi-billion dollars deals. We have seen a significant also shift in public opinion toward nuclear, specifically from the younger generation. Larger scale reactors, SMRs are coming, and microreactors are being also accelerated. We strongly believe that the know-how of Baraka, the nuclear power plants in the UAE, can deliver large-scale nationwide projects and new builds in less than 8 years. I look forward to today's conversation and also in identifying synergies with partners to turn plans into realities and be able to have a cleaner grid and powering AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamedi. I mean, dear colleagues, at the IEA, we look at all fuels, all technologies, and depending on the country's choices. But as we have highlighted some 3 years ago, nuclear is making a comeback for different reasons in different countries. And I see there are two big challenges in front of the nuclear now. One is the industry, nuclear industry, to be very frank with you, doesn't have the reputation to deliver on time and on budget the projects. And but the Emirates was an exception there, as I told you yesterday, Mohammed, on time and on budget. So it is great. And the second one is the financing of nuclear. This is a critical issue. It is a different concept than financing different other power plants. So it is the reason, again, mid-January, International Energy Agency coming up with a report, how to finance the nuclear, who should finance, what is the role of public finance, private, and how we can finance nuclear power for the countries that are aiming to build nuclear power plants. Mid-January, just before Davos, we have our colleagues from here from World Economic Forum, in order to make this topic a key issue in Davos, among other topics that we are going to discuss. Now, with this, I am turning to another giant, a big country, to Brazil. Brazil, as you know, dear colleagues, this year chairing G20 and next year COP30. We are very happy to have the Minister for Technological Development and Innovation, Mr. Almeida Filho. And after Brazil, I will go to NVIDIA. But, Mr. Minister, may I ask you how your government sees the role of AI in driving the digital transformation? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Birol. Distinguished members of the panel, distinguished participants, good morning. On behalf of the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation of Brazil, Mrs. Luciana Santos, I greet you all. It is with great pleasure that I participate in these discussions on the interaction between energy and artificial intelligence, AI, at this global conference. This topic is extremely relevant in the current global context, since AI can be applied to various aspects of renewable energy, contributing to cost reduction, minimizing environmental impact, and increasing the production of clean energy. But at the same time, we know how impactful the emerging technologies are in the energy sector and the explosive demand that will require for the next years and decades. Having said that, I emphasize that the theme of energy transition is a priority for the Brazilian government, and particularly for the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. In addition to our well-known global leadership in clean and renewable energy, with almost 90% of electricity generation and 49% of the whole energy matrix coming from these sources, we have developed national scientific excellence, cutting-edge technology and innovation for the sector. From technologies applied to hydroelectric power plants and ethanol, to second-generation ethanol and sustainable hydrogen, we have shown the world our innovative vocation in terms of renewable energy. Therefore, we have been working to maintain and expand these achievements which involve the frontiers of knowledge. Within the federal government, our ministry is responsible for the elaboration, coordination, and implementation of research, development, and innovation actions of the main national programs in the renewable energy sector, notably the National Fuels Policy, including Renewable, the Fuel of the Future Program, and the National Hydrogen Program. All those past and current national advantages are ready to be applied to the challenges presented by the AI deployment. We are working on today's and tomorrow's capacities and capabilities to provide the clean and renewable energy supply needed to such endeavor and build a true green AI revolution in Brazil. In terms of international approach, I would like to mention that during the Brazil's G20 presidency this year, we created the G20 Research and Innovation Working Group. We were very happy to count on the International Energy Agency as our knowledge partner for this first year of work. Together with the members of G20 and IEA, we developed two important deliverables. First, a G20 list of clean energy technologies to be targets of co-development, transfer, dissemination, and diffusion of knowledge, with the aim of lowering emissions and the achievement of the protection of the environment and of net zero greenhouse gas emissions. And second, the G20 Compendium of National Clean Energy Innovation Policies for a Just Energy Transition. We thank again IEA and G20 member countries, some of them present in this panel, for all the efforts and contributions. Our ministry was also responsible for coordinating the priority axis on artificial intelligence in the G20 Digital Economy Working Group, in which we focused on AI for inclusive sustainable development and inequalities reduction. We prepared together with UNESCO the toolkit for artificial intelligence readiness and capacity assessment, and the mapping of the development, deployment, and adoption of AI for enhanced public services in the G20 members. What bonds both initiatives in G20 are the technological solutions involved in those two processes, and the need to allow the developing countries participating in this new symbiotic revolution of energy transition and artificial intelligence, so we can have a true global and responsible change that leaves no one behind. This is the challenge that everybody in this room, public and private entities, should seek. In the Brazilian government, we are doing our part. Last July, we presented to President Lula the Brazilian Artificial Intelligence Plan, PBIA, which will have a planned public investment of $4 billion over the next 4 years, one of the biggest amount developed and developing countries. Among developed and developing countries. Through PBIA, we seek to develop AI solutions which will significantly improve the population's quality of life, optimizing the delivery of public services, and promoting social inclusion. The document was prepared by experts and scientists from 170 public, private, and civil society organizations in the country. PBIA focuses in strategic areas such as data and technology sovereignty, supercomputing, and energy sustainability. We are certain that we can transform Brazil into a global reference in innovation and efficiency in the use of artificial intelligence, especially in the public sector, which also places great emphasis on social inclusion and environmental sustainability. Therefore, I am proud to mention that Brazil is one of the few countries that has linked its AI development to renewable energy by implementing a sustainable energy infrastructure of green data centers and AI installations powered by clean energy, refrigeration technologies, and low consumption equipment. The country is aligning itself with global best practices in sustainability, something that is still in its early stages in many other nations. We will fund around 45 projects in the next 5 years on this line of action. These characteristics make Brazil, the Brazilian plan, a robust example of how developing countries can use AI strategically to promote inclusion, government efficiency, and sustainable economic growth. Distinguished members of the panel, distinguished participants, in 2025, Brazil will face two major challenges: chairing the BRICS and hosting the COP30 Climate Change Conference. On both occasions, we are certain that the teams of artificial intelligence and renewable energy will play prominent roles. In this sense, I would like to emphasize Brazil's commitment to promote safe, secure, and reliable AI, applied in a transparent, ethical, and responsible manner, so that it can act as a catalyst for achieving economic growth and inclusive sustainable development in its social, economic, and environmental dimensions. We hope to increasingly strengthen our cooperation ties in the area of renewable energy and artificial intelligence with other countries and international organizations, and we hope that this topic can continue to be discussed during other meetings like this one. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for highlighting the Brazil's plans, ambitions as far as the AI is concerned. And many things also mentioning our cooperation during your G20 presidency. We are also thankful for our discussions, interactions with the President Lula, his ministers, and other stakeholders in Brazil. Many thanks for that. Now, dear colleagues, I will go to NVIDIA, followed by France. We have Mr. Serge Palech, who is the Vice President of NVIDIA. May I ask, how do you see the role of AI changing the energy infrastructure, energy sector? What kind of role do you see as NVIDIA? Where is Mr. Okay, yes, sir, over to you.
Sorry. Good morning. Thank you for inviting us and the opportunity to talk to all of you, different sector, industry, government, and energy sector. NVIDIA has been created basically to solve complex problems. And when we start, we are the pioneer on accelerated computing. We start with computer graphics, and now we are on AI and generative AI and what type of AI you can imagine. If you will look what we have done on power efficiency from the 2016, we improved power efficiency of our hardware 3,000 times for AI training. So this is something that we keep always in mind, is how we can consume less power and do much more things with the platform we are providing to the different industries. Many people are talking about data centers. It's a big word, data centers, okay? I think we should talk more about AI factory, because the fact to do AI factory will give to all industry and every industry the capability to have access to resource and minus and reduce the number of data centers with the data center who will have much more power, I will say, to drive AI, to drive GI, but consume less. And we always thinking that these AI factories will help to solve complex problems. Now, if you look what AI can do for energy, what energy can do for AI, this is the next very, very important problem, okay? Let me take a few examples. Many energy companies are using AI, generative AI, and digital twin to build their next power plant. We spoke about nuclear power plant. Why? Because by simulating this next power plant, we can save a lot of cost, but we can save a lot of energy as well for future usage. And this is where we need to co-work all together, all this ecosystem, to see how we can maximize this deployment in order to save as much energy we can. If you look as well, this is valid for solar plant, this is valid for wind farms, this is valid for every, I will say, things that generate energy. Because consuming energy, we need to generate energy somewhere else, okay? But this is not only, I would say, on data center or power plant or these kind of things. We need also to see how at the edge, meaning the usage of large language model or small language model, what is consuming energy? I think we will have many, many devices, okay, that will consume energy. If you look at the edge, we spoke about the battery, the new design of battery helping by generative AI, by AI. It's extremely important. We are speaking about electric car. Electric car can be developed with AI, and this is the case today. Okay, simulating the car, turning the car in a virtual world and see the impact. But this is not only that. when there is weather disaster, in fact, this is impacting all of us. This is impacting the electricity, this is impacting the energy, let's say power plant, this is impacting the population, this is impacting the environment. So how we can simulate weather forecasts, how we can simulate disaster using generative AI. This is a very big topic. This will help us to consume less energy because we can react in advance, we can move people, we can protect, and so on and so on. So what is next? What is next? What is coming? The AI ecosystem is moving extremely fast, extremely fast. Every day there is something new. That is exciting, but we need to look at it very carefully. What are the impact of this news? When you look at physical AI, meaning the capability, and we see physical AI in the robotics today, okay? Robotics could be a robot in an industry, could be a surgical robot, could be whatever robot you can think. This physical AI will give the capability of devices to talk together, but to basically evolve with their own environment, okay, and interact. Now, what is the energy consumption of that? So we need to think about it. We need to think about it. And this physical AI will go everywhere. We are thinking, okay, for example, a robot in a factory, he will be able to observe his environment, okay, and take decision to do what he needs to do. This will come to humanoid robot. This is the next step. And humanoid robots are helping humanity to do some task, even we not replace the human, of course, we are not in a movies, but basically this will consume energy, battery, so we need to find as well new concept of batteries in order to maximize the power consumption to do the task that this robot need to be done. To conclude, I will say we think that what we are doing at NVIDIA, trying to reduce the power consumption of our solution, our platform, is an hardware task, but this is a software as well task, okay? Because you can have the best hardware of the planet, you need to be able to run it with the right software stack in order to get the maximum feedback, the maximum ROI. So physical AI is coming, many things are coming. We think that our hardware is basically up to speed to manage this energy challenge. And we are continuing to work on it and to try to reduce as much power consumption we can in every industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On one hand, we all know that the AI, as you call the factories, will need a lot of energy, in fact, electricity. But on the other hand, we should use it more efficiently and reduce the consumption. This is great. Now, may I turn to France, followed by Infosys. We are fortunate, Madame Ambassador here. Madame Ambassador, we know that the President Macron has also plans to organize an AI summit in Paris very soon. Maybe you can tell a few things on that to us. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to all of you. And first of all, our Minister of Energy, Olga Givernet, who was supposed to be here, is really sorry for not being here today. But you all know and understand that the political situation drives me as an ambassador to ensure the continuity of the French voice and messaging. As an introduction, France is very, very thankful to you here at the International Energy Agency for organizing this coordination, as you said, meeting, and this foresight meeting on what is needed to be done for the future. France sees two things. That first, digital and AI is becoming increasingly constrained by physical aspects. And this is interesting, but also challenging. And second, that this digital revolution is more intensive in capital than any digital revolution so far. And the fact that it's very capital intensive makes it very different from the internet, that was not that capital intensive, but also could create eviction effects on the budget And we always talk about the need to invest in the twin transition. And a few weeks ago, we had Mario Draghi here in the room explaining how Europe should typically invest both in technology, but also in transition and energy transition. I will take just here a personal hint. I'm a mother of twins. You cannot do exactly things in double if you don't have a double energy or a double person. So yes, we have to invest in the twin transition, but we also have to be mindful that our fiscal situation, our public budgets are so constrained that trade-offs will have to be made in how much we support the AI revolution, but also how much we support the energy transition. So that's a source of complexity, and it's very helpful if indeed the International Energy Agency can help us work on these issues. Just before explaining what we want to do with the French President Macron in February for this AI Action Summit, and you will have this special envoy Anne Bouvreau this afternoon with you, I'm very thankful for Google to have mentioned water. For France, we always discuss AI and energy now more and more, and this is very good, but we need also to discuss AI and water. It is said that ChatGPT-3 generated 500 tons of greenhouse gases and consumed 700,000 liters of water. So this is very, very important too when we look at the sustainability of AI. So for France, 3 messages. We are really focusing now on what we call frugal AI. How we can adapt AI to the need of energy that cannot be exponentially infinite, but also how we can adapt AI to the warming. And you know that we have a national adaptation plan that is looking at what does it mean for France to be 4 degrees plus 4 degrees higher in temperature. And we see that it's not that obvious that our digital infrastructure can support this temperature. So the AI roadmap of the French Ministry in charge of ecological transition focuses on 3 areas. 3S: science, standards, solution. Science, because we are investing in, as a piece of our France 2030 plan and our national AI strategy, a frugal AI program, which is the core and the key priority of our public AI research program. Second, standards. France has been leading the work and joint work I will describe on standards for data centers and environmental impact on AI, on how we can reduce the environmental impact of the models. 100 participants from companies, administration, and association research institutes led to the publication of a general framework for frugal AI in June 2024. And the plan here is really to make these standards, which were co-constructed, like by all the stakeholders, and many are in the room today, a shared standard and potentially a European standard, but an even global standard on how we can compare and look at the efficiency. Last, solutions. It was said by Microsoft, smaller models is a way to be more frugal. Smaller models, but with greater impact. You know, many French AI companies are leading the way in this sector. Mistral is one, but many others. And we fear it's a solution we should promote. So this science, these standards, this solution will be at the heart of the AI Action Summit in Paris in February 2025. The International Energy Agency is a key partner of this preparation of the summit, because the deliverables we want to push collectively on the energy efficiency, environment, and alignment of AI with our environmental goals will be key. And we feel that the outcome of these discussions can be very well also presented to the leaders in Paris in February. So not only it will drive the International Energy Agency work plan, but it can also drive and support a larger thinking as part of this summit that Anne will present to you this afternoon. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. And we are all looking forward to President Macron's summit. I can only testify that the previous summit that President Macron organized, the 4P summit, was so influential and changed the dynamics globally. So, dear colleagues, may I go to now the Infosys, followed by the European Union. We are fortunate to have the Executive Vice President of Infosys, Mr. Kumar Dash. Mr. Dash, what do you see the role of AI and energy sector from maybe from India, developing countries' perspective? What kind of role it can play, of course, and beyond? Thank you very much for coming over. Thank you.
Distinguished Chair, Dr. Birol, Your Excellencies and esteemed delegates, thank you for the opportunity to speak at this pivotal conference, in my view. Theme, Energy for AI and AI for Energy, the timing could not have been any better. At Infosys, we are proud to operate in more than 50 countries. As Dr. Birol said, our headquarters is in India. We operate in worldwide, and we are also a top technology provider for the energy sector globally. Now, one of the things that we are very proud of is we have been carbon neutral since 2020. And in that journey, we have learned a lot in terms of deploying the right processes, right technologies, and now with the deployment of AI, we are going to market with a strategy. Now, this unique position also enables us to comprehend how global energy companies plan and implement AI strategies. More importantly, if we use AI as a transformative force, we have come up with the theme of AI first to drive value for our clients and for the communities in general. The duality has been highlighted by most of the colleagues here. The rise of AI is significantly increasing the energy demand. And at the same time, AI is also revolutionizing how we produce, distribute, store, and consume energy. And I'll give you a few examples of that. But as the general purpose technology, AI, is reshaping humanity, and we need more applications and use cases in the material and life sciences, we also see that it can coexist with sustainability harmoniously and circularly to drive innovation and impact. In the energy sector, we are seeing phenomenal impact and groundbreaking and advancements because of AI. Advanced solar cells, solid-state batteries, graphene-based supercapacitors are just some examples of materials being developed with AI-driven insights. Metal organic frameworks for revolutionizing carbon capture is another area where we see hydrogen storage solutions using AI is another area that we see developing rapidly because of AI. Now, AI itself is demanding energy in a staggering scale, and my colleagues have touched upon quite a bit of it. By 2030, estimates suggest that we need about 100 million H100 equivalent chips that will consume about 100 gigawatt of power, which is, comparatively speaking, about 20% of today's US's total America's energy production. So that's a significant demand that will come. Now, the good news is that AI itself holds the key to solving many of these challenges. Across the energy value chain, spanning generation to distribution to storage to consumption, we are seeing AI removing limitations, the constraints. The reimagination of grid is possible today because of AI. We're also seeing a lot of efficiencies being driven, not just on the generation side, but also on the consumption side. And we at Infosys are at the forefront of doing a few projects in that area, and I'll give you some examples. But overall, we look at AI in the energy sector in three distinct buckets. The first one is what we call as asset and operations AI, wherein we enhance the equipment performance, we enhance the grid performance, we make the grid two-way, renewable integration into the grid, predictivity of the grid, and so on. The second is the insight.ai, which is around driving optimization, situational awareness of the decision making in the grid, and bringing in more stability and automation to the controls. And the third one is persona.ai, which is around developing co-pilots for engineers, grid planners, field personnel, and so on to enhance decision-making, safety, and productivity, and resilience and reliability as well. So let me share a few examples of what we have done globally with our clients and our partners in the AI space. We're using AI to drive energy efficiency in a significant way, Dr. Birol. The way we started is in one of our large campuses, which is kind of a smart city in the city of Pune. We deployed an AI-based model to measure the consumption patterns of energy and we train the models to make sure that the insights that we derive from billions of data points that come in helps us make the right decisions and therefore reduce consumption. And we could achieve over 25% energy efficiency on top of platinum LEED certified buildings. So that's something that we thought is an example that we want to take to the market. And today we are doing that globally with multiple clients. The other example that I wanted to touch upon, and some of our colleagues talked about it, we are a big proponent of small language models, because we believe that if you use narrow transformers and you train the models in a small language way, then you are able to reduce the energy intensity of what AI needs. At the same time, the use cases can be very powerful to deploy. These examples not just demonstrate the transformative potential, but also the efficiency gains in reshaping how the energy industry itself operates and how we can shape the future. As we navigate this transformative era, I think the collaboration between the energy sector, policymakers, and AI deployment and technology companies is critical, more critical than ever. So we must work together to ensure that energy becomes a growth enabler and not a bottleneck for deployment of AI. This requires, in our view, three things. One, invest in renewable and scalable energy solutions. Two, leverage AI for efficiency across the energy life cycle, all the way from production, generation to consumption and storage and so on. And then develop a sustainable framework to balance the energy demand and supply. Because there will be situations where, where we are deploying AI may not be the best place for renewable supply, and therefore, we have to drive a balance there. So the possibilities are immense, but it also comes with a shared responsibility to ensure that innovation serves humanity and our planet, and we have a better and sustainable future. I'll conclude with saying that we are at a crossroads where AI and energy intersect, each amplifying the other's potential. Let us harness this synergy to not only solve today's challenges, but to pave the way for a more sustainable, efficient, and innovative future. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dash. And I was talking with your very Ambassador Ashraf, how strongly the Infosys is distributing its activity around the world, more than 50 countries. But as much as that, as somebody who lives in Paris, I was very impressed. What a wonderful technological infrastructure you built for Roland Garros here, the tennis tournament.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you, Birol.
So now may I go to European Union, followed by EDF. We have the Director General for Energy, Dita Jorgensen. Madam Director General, European Commission has a EU AI roadmap. Can you tell us a bit, what are the main thoughts from coming that roadmap for the energy world? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Birol, Fatih, and to you and the IEA for bringing us together here once again on this important topic, and really allowing for an open discussion on how do we make best use of the opportunities that AI present in the energy transition and the energy sector. Let me indeed set out the European perspective on the questions you have raised, both the role, of course, of artificial intelligence in reaching climate neutrality, how to balance the many benefits and opportunities of that for the energy system with the potential risks, with the challenges, and then what is the EU approach, what are the initiatives we have. And if there's one thing I would like you to remember when I stop speaking here, it is our strong interest in and readiness to engage with the sector, the energy sector, the tech sector, to make sure that we get that right and really make best use of the opportunities represented, while of course balancing the challenges, as others have said as well. Now, the starting point is a fairly simple one. We know that we want to decarbonize our economies, our energy system. We know that we need a secure energy supply, and we know that we need a transition that strengthens our competitiveness and that is also just and fair across the European Union, but also globally. Others have pointed to the challenges of access to energy. We know that in sub-Saharan Africa alone, more than 300 million people currently don't have access to electricity. And so those challenges have to be brought in and integrated into our common work for the transition. We know that in achieving these targets that we in the European Union and globally have set for ourselves, it is absolutely critical that we make use of AI and digitization. There is no way that we can reach our targets and do it in the right way without the use of AI. And so, as others have said, this twin transition is the approach. Now, in terms of the opportunities, others have spoken so eloquently to those, and I'm not going to repeat what the sector and governments have said about it, simply to underline the fact that in order for us to optimize, increase the uptake of renewables, reduce the risks in the system, strengthen grid resilience, be more energy efficient in all of the uses, lower costs, and accelerate research, innovation, development, and new solutions, we are going to need to make full use of the opportunities that AI represent for our energy systems and for the transition. And then, of course, at the same time, we have to manage the challenges. And again, here, others have spoken to some of the challenges. I think what is interesting to hear in the intervention so far is that there is a lot of readiness in the sector to discuss the challenges and look at how to address them, what can we do to mitigate any risks that are inherent in the use of these technologies, and how do we find the best solutions. What we do see is that globally, but even within the European Union, different jurisdictions have found different approaches, different solutions. Some focus on the location of data centers and how that circularity can feed into heating or energy systems. Some focus more on how to use AI in improving the energy systems. There are discussions around the standards, the energy efficiency standards and approaches of data centers and other technologies. And one of the advantages in bringing everyone together is, of course, to discuss and learn what are the best approaches and to emulate best practices globally. So that is one of the things we are working on within the European Union. I think one of the aspects that we still need to work more on is that of security, cybersecurity, security of critical infrastructure, where we across the European Union see significant risks and challenges every day. And so that is one of the aspects that we do need to dive into more deeply, as well as, of course, issues around data privacy and data protection for our citizens and our companies. And then there are questions of what does it mean, what do data centers, what do these investments and structures mean for local communities, what are the benefits, and how can we enhance the benefits for local communities, again in relation to location and planning and making good use of the energy that goes in, but also the energy that potentially leaves data centers. In our approach to AI in the European Union, we really try to center on excellent looking at how to boost research, industrial capacity, but of course ensuring safety, fundamental rights at the same time. As others have mentioned, Professor Draghi has been here to talk about competitiveness, and AI, digitalization, including digitalization of the energy system in Europe, is a necessary part of our competitiveness. So there is no doubt about the need for that driver, the need for those investments, and that openness to work with the sector. We adopted just earlier this year the first AI Act, a legal framework to address the risk and try to really distinguish between what is the AI where there is a risk that needs to be catered for, and what are all the other uses that are not particularly sensitive and where you don't need to look at those aspects. We have adopted an AI innovation package that aims to support European startups. There is a lot of research, a lot of innovation, a lot of patents in Europe. And so how do we make sure that those actually make it to the market and are scalable, including in a European context? We have, just a few years ago, set out an action plan for digitalization of the energy system, and we will follow up with that on a roadmap for AI in the energy sector. And this is where, once again, if you remember one thing, it is our openness, our readiness, our strong interest in working with the sector, both the energy sector and the tech and AI sectors, so that we can make sure that we create the best possible environment for optimizing the use of AI, making best use of those opportunities for competitiveness, for innovation, for energy security, and for decarbonization of the economy, and doing it in a way that brings benefit throughout and helps increase the level of investments that are necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dite. We are looking forward to work closely with the new commission, already started a few days ago, continue to work even closer. Now, dear colleagues, I would like to go to EDF, followed by the United States. So we are fortunate to have the one of the captains of the energy industry, Luc Raymond, who is the CEO of EDF. Luc, how does EDF see the role of AI in the energy sector, both as providing energy to AI and role of AI in the energy sector? Over to you.
Thank you very much, dear Fatih. Thank you for putting EDF just in between the European Commission and the United States. That's a hard place to be. Look, EDF is just an industrialist and an electrician, so let me speak as an electrician and industrialist, of course. As an industrialist, we see AI as a fantastic tool, and we see every day more potential for us on deploying AI applications for improving our supply chain, making sure that we manage all our install base plus our manufacturing capacities in a streamlined way, on applications to deal with our millions of customers to give them a better service, etc., etc. So it's unlimited capacities that we are deploying now with AI-enabled applications. Of course, this is building on people's skills, but this is enabling people further. And that's really how we deploy AI at EDF with our partners so that we continue to build a more efficient service to our customers. As an electrician, of course, we see AI as a challenge for all of us and an opportunity as an electrician. The challenge is that AI is demultiplying or is accelerating the digital infrastructure needs in all the countries. And of course, as such, is bringing a new challenge to the energy transition. Not every country is starting from the same starting point in this respect. And we have to try our best so that in every country we find the best way to implement the digital infrastructure in a way that is compatible or even sustaining the energy transition agenda. So in the geographies where we are working, we generally start at EDF with a pretty highly decarbonated generation capacity. In this country, we barely emit few grams per kilowatt hour. And we have available capacity. So it's pretty easy in this country to welcome new digital infrastructure. The challenge will be to make sure that this new digital infrastructure fits with the challenges of efficiency from an energy standpoint. And we will work, of course, with all the data center industry so that we can, as an expert of energy efficiency, help the data center industry to continue to take the next mile of challenge of being even more efficient. There is a new dimension that is probably even more challenging for both the electricians and the digital infrastructure industry, which is coping with the instability. Coping with the instability becomes our common challenge in electricity. More and more of our grids are becoming naturally unstable because of the trend of inserting more and more intermittent sources of power. These intermittent sources of power are necessary to continue to build the journey of decarbonation and put more power available, but they are in nature not supplying baseload. Data center industry needs baseload. So we need to work together so that we supply the baseload, which with nuclear is possible. But in the meantime, we need the data center industry to increase their flexibility so that they can also swallow more of intermittent sources of power. And by working on these both aspects, which can be done by storage capacity or flexibility on the usage of power on the data center side, I believe that we can more easily integrate the needs of data centers in the grids and, of course, adapt that to the circumstances of every geography. In our case, in continental Europe and in the UK, where we operate, this is made easier by a very significant nuclear power plant capacity, which makes power available. So we are going to work in this direction here in France and in the UK, of course. But in other geographies, we are going to work with the data center industry as well, so that flexibility can improve the ability to find its way to the ground. The last element that I would add is that insertion of data center in territory is critical. The ambassador of France mentioned that as well. You cannot build any industry without building a consensus on each territory, or you build your infrastructure. And this is an expertise that we have. Building nuclear power plant is not exactly a walk in the park. So data centers is less sensitive, and that's something that we would like to work with the data center industry on as well. Thank you very much, Fatih.
Thank you very much, Luc. And the last point you mentioned is all of them are extremely important, but if I can choose two of them, the flexibility that it provides and also the permitting for the data centers. It is not taken for granted. It might not be as difficult as some of the other energy installations, but this is definitely a challenge. And the choice of the location is also permitting is one issue. The other issue is the availability of energy to feed the data centers. So very many thanks, Luc. Now, may I now go to United States, followed by Hitachi Energy. Now, we have the Assistant Secretary of State, Jeff Payette. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for being with us. What do you think, what kind of role AI can play for addressing the energy security and also energy transitions issues?
Great.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Executive Director, dear Fatih, for convening us, for having us here today. I want to start also by saying I'm thrilled to be joined by my Department of Energy colleague, Julie Sequeira, reflecting the interagency nature of the U.S. government's approach to these issues. I want to start this morning with a few context-setting remarks about the role of the IEA. It was exactly 50 years ago, in February of 1974, that the major energy-consuming countries met in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Energy Conference, hosted by then Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. There, we established the IEA to safeguard energy security in the face of a global energy system disrupted by events in the Middle East. Since then, U.S. administrations of both political parties, along with our partners and allies around the world, have relied on the IEA, its analysis, and its coordination to help the world collectively maintain our energy security. In 2021, when Russia began to strategically undersupply natural gas to Europe in preparation for its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the IEA was central to ensuring energy stability in Europe and beyond. Its recommendations helped Europe to blunt the impact of Putin's energy weapon. The agency's coordination of the largest ever release of strategic oil reserves in March and April of 2022 bolstered global oil supply and calmed world markets that had been broiled by the Kremlin's unprovoked aggression. The United States greatly appreciates that the IEA continues to lead the way on identifying and addressing emerging energy challenges, like supply chains and critical mineral diversification. I'm also very pleased that we're joined today by Singapore EMA's Shin-Wei Lo. 6 weeks after we celebrated the IEA's opening of its first regional center in Singapore, a recognition that Asia's energy demand will be a driving element in the future of the global energy system. When power for AI emerged as a source of both opportunity and challenge, as many have talked about today, the IEA again was ready, convening leaders and experts on how to harness the benefits of these new technologies while meeting the evolving infrastructure needs to support them. Over the past few years, I've had a front row view of this challenge. Just about 30 kilometers from my office, outside Dulles Airport, for you who know it, Loudoun and Fairfax counties in Northern Virginia handle about 70% of the world's internet traffic, passing through just these two counties. That has created significant challenges to the regional power utility, which expects that data centers will drive up peak demand in my home state by as much as 50% in the next 6 years. As Fatih noted, data centers already consume more than a quarter of Virginia's electricity in a state with a population of about 9 million people. That power demand reflects tremendous achievements by U.S. technology companies in the field of artificial intelligence. And I'm thrilled today that we're joined by Kate, Melanie, and other representatives of the United States, world-leading technology companies, and our hyperscalers. These AI tools are already being used, as several have noted, to dramatic positive effect in our energy sector, to improve supply and demand forecasting, to facilitate demand response and grid flexibility applications, and to enable proactive maintenance of grid infrastructure. That's why the United States has committed itself to supporting the responsible development of AI. And in September, my boss, Secretary of State Blinken, launched the State Department's Global AI Research Agenda, we call it GAIRA, don't blame me, which focuses on opportunities for the international community to collaborate on AI development to meet economic, humanitarian, and security goals. But there's no denying that the electric grid, upon which AI relies, faces serious challenges, as everyone at this roundtable has said one way or another. Utilities in the United States are now seeing demand growth they've not experienced since the 1990s, as AI demand stacks on top of growth from EVs, manufacturing, renewable power storage, and more. But as Kate and Melanie's interventions also alluded to, AI can present as well solutions. The United States last year installed a record 34 gigawatts of clean energy capacity and is on track to top that amount this year. At home, our Inflation Reduction Act is providing powerful incentives for the financing and construction of new energy infrastructure, driving investment, accelerating innovation, and helping American companies lead the way in sourcing clean energy. But the situation in the U.S. is far from unique, and we hope today's discussions can form the basis of a shared commitment to developing AI responsibly and sustainably, to seeing AI as a demand signal for faster, clean, and reliable energy deployment, rather than just a driver of increased cost. As Mohammed Al-Hamadi and Minister Matsuo also noted, we're excited to see AI growth providing a stimulus for faster deployment of new nuclear technologies. And the United States stands ready to partner with those countries seeking to deploy AI sustainably and responsibly. And just as we have all so often over the past 50 years looked to the IEA to address major challenges facing the global energy system, the United States today affirms the IEA's important role in navigating the challenges and opportunities that AI will present. We especially appreciate the IEA's work to model AI's impacts on energy systems, as well as its efforts to explore and uncover AI's potential to unlock new tools for energy security and sustainability. The United States also hopes that the IEA will use its influence and convening power to build consensus on the importance of deploying sustainable and reliable energy to power AI, particularly in emerging and developing economies, where we want to make sure that demand growth from data centers does not crowd out other customers. In sum, the rise of AI presents an opportunity to build a more affordable, more sustainable, and more secure energy system, provided governments and corporations pursue its deployment thoughtfully and responsibly. In this context, we are grateful to the IEA for hosting this much-needed conference and look forward, Fatih, to the IEA's guidance as we navigate the bold new world that the World Economic Outlook chatbot illustrates for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. We are going to do our best again to the rise of AI. What are the implications on the energy sector for energy security, moving in a clean energy world in a best efficient way, and we will try to put our numbers, provide guidance to governments, of course, going to work with the United States and all the governments around this table, as we always do. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for your views. Now, may I go to Hitachi Energy, followed by Total. Again, another big company. We have Hitachi Energy. We are fortunate to have the Chief Executive Officer, Andres Schierenbeck. Andres, very nice to see you again. So you operate across the entire electricity value chain, so one of the very few companies. How do you see the AI in the entire electricity value chain, what kind of role it can play. Many of the colleagues mentioned, including myself, the optimization role on the grids, but I am sure there are more to say as far as the Hitachi is concerned. Over to you, Andreas.
Yeah. Dear Chairman, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here. I think it was discussed already that we living in a world where electrification energy demand is rising like we haven't seen it for nearly 30 years, as the United States just explained. As we looked at this growing demand, we are convinced it was driven by sustainability, going for electrification, electromobility, and a lot of things. But honestly, to say, data center were probably not on the radar for this consideration. Data centers were in the past not a big consumer. They were a little bit neglected in that. And now we see a complete new animal because the data center for AI are probably more factories, as we heard from NVIDIA, than actually electrical consumers. And the AI factories and data centers adding a few more complexity than probably assumed. First of all, the size, the sheer size of these data centers is a complete different thing. We are seeing now proposals and things in planning going from 200, 500 megawatts to 1 gigawatt, or even parks of multiple gigawatts in planning for data center, which is quite significant. It's the size of big electrical generation assets like a nuclear power plant or big parks. And there's another thing which is adding on top of that. AI factories are highly volatile. If they're starting to learn, they're ramping up the energy consumption in a very short time to significant amounts of energy. And if they stop learning, this returns to a normal operation mode. Swings of 200, 300 megawatts in 10 minutes is a behavior electrical operators don't appreciate very much. Normal customers would get in real trouble with that. But this is just the normal way what we expect. And this volatility actually is adding to the volatility of renewables. So we have now in the networks renewable energy generation, which is volatile, depends on wind and sun, and we have volatility driven on the demand side by data center. The sheer size of that data center addition to the network is something we should try to figure. In the US at the moment, the energy consumption of data centers is around 3% of the energy demand. It is forecasted that into the 30s that will grow up to 8 to 12%. That's very, very significantly. And that puts a lot of stress on the operators and, of course, on the grid. Because the grid and the grid planning is not a process or an industry which is very fast, very slow compared to the hyperscalers which want to build data center. A normal grid project for expansion takes around 7 years. Most of the time, actually, it's permitting. It's not construction. We spend 5 years, 6 years to getting all the permits in place before we start construction. So that makes this process very slow. You can build data centers if you get a permit for a grid connection much faster. But to cope with that, we have to find a way how we're dealing with that, how to bring it in sync, which is not an easy thing. Faster grid expansion and faster connection of renewable energy, including SMRs and nuclear, is definitely one solution. But keep in mind, in Europe alone, we have 900 gigawatts of renewable projects which are denied grid connection. They are waiting, they are already developed, but we can't connect them because the grid can't take it. Adding now the complexity of AI data center to that is making it actually worse. So what can be done and what we are doing? We as Hitachi, we are investing heavily in our production capacity. We are investing alone in expansion of transformer factories, $1.5 billion US dollars in the next 2 years, another 3.5 in different expansion in our other businesses. But even that is not enough. Most of the capacity is already forecasted, sold, and dedicated. So to save some time on that end, we have to look definitely at standardization. There is no reason why transformers and connection for big data centers have to be completely different from one company to another. And standardization is a cost item as well, because it's, from my point of view, engineering waste. We have to look at something, we call it from projects to programs. We can invest more. So we are prepared to invest more CapEx, but we need visibility for projects, capacity reservations, framework agreements, because we have shareholders too. And of course, we have definitely reduced permitting times. If we want to keep cope with the growth of AI data center, we have to look what we are doing for the grid expansion for the sake of increasing this share of renewables and for connecting AIs. Thank you very much.
So many thanks. Now, I would like to go to Total Energies, followed by LinkedIn. So we have the president of OneTech at Total Energies, Mrs. Namita Shah, who is over there. Very nice to see you, madam, again. So how do you think the role of AI, how would it change the operations in Total Energies? Over to you, please.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. So first of all, as you know, or I hope that all of you know, Total Energies is one of the majors that has a very clear strategy both on the growth of electricity and renewables, as well as developing our business in our traditional fossil fuels. We have developed a very strong business in renewables and have massively grown our investment in renewables, our capex in renewables, and it enables me perhaps to speak about the practicalities of what it means to develop renewable energy and 100% green energy molecules. As everybody has said, and I think as is a fact, we have noted that there is a there's a growth in demand of energy, coming, of course, a lot from developing countries, but not only. And if we add to that the growth in demand of energy from data centers and AI, we can see that there is a competition in some countries between the energy that is needed to increase the basic quality of life of people in a lot of countries and versus the energy that is needed to be able to power artificial intelligence. It is also a fact that there has been a huge growth in the amount of renewable energy that has come onto the market. But the reality is that this growth has not succeeded in replacing energy that is being produced by more traditional fossil fuel production. It has compensated, or it has, helped offset the demand, but it has not yet reached a point where we can say that even coal in certain countries has been decreased as a source of energy use. So the challenge that we have is how do you make sure that you can align the growth in demand with the need to have cleaner energy. And the real challenge is how do we manage this transition? There's a double challenge in the transition, I think. One is the need for a very consistent base load when we are providing green energy. We've all talked about it. It is an intermittent energy, and so we have to work on a lot of combinations of energies to be able to provide reliable and consistent energy to a lot of our customers, including data centers. And there is also the issue of speed. I know that technology on the cloud and AI and new ideas go at very, very fast rates. Construction of any kind of new energy source doesn't go as fast. And as my colleague from Hitachi said, there's a real practical issue on the ground to be able to accelerate permitting and our ability to develop renewable energy faster on the ground. We have there's not a technology issue in terms of whether solar energy or onshore wind energy is efficient and are we able to do it. There are supply chain issues and there are permitting and availability of land issues that is just a practical reality that we need to be able to solve if we want to go faster in the development of renewable energy. So, and I think the last thing that I would like to say is that the transition part therefore becomes very important. And while we have to maintain our objectives of wanting to have clean energy and have the transition out of fossil fuels, we will have to manage the transition and we will have to be able to combine both energies to be able to provide the energy that's needed today and to be able to phase out the energy that comes from more traditional sources. I think, we work in over 100 countries around the world. This idea of where data centers are located is important for us to try to understand in which areas or which countries or which geographical regions the kind of demand that will have to be met, whether it is for more local industry and household and consumption demand, or whether it's going to be more specific in these massive quantities and in the more, as we say, the more volatile kind of demand that maybe data centers will have to have. It's going to be an important aspect of what we're going to have to be able to understand to provide the right kind of services to the data industry. And lastly, I think that in order to do that, we need to be able to work on more imaginative PPAs. I think, at least during the transition, we need to work on more imaginative PPAs, on how we can combine the fact that renewable energies does not have that consistent base load with the requirements that data centers have, and see how we can build a PPA system that can take into account the instabilities on both sides to be able to come up with a model that makes sense, at least in the period of transition, before you get to something that is much more, consistent. And then just one word on what we use for AI. Clearly, in our power business, AI is a very important component. Digital and AI for the development of renewables is key. Renewables is a very digital and AI-driven business. And I think in our traditional businesses, there are certain areas where digital and AI can be very useful, but it requires a more careful think behind where AI is really a game changer and where it just brings some marginal change, especially in comparison to the cost of AI and the cost of the use of data and the storage of data in the cloud. What is the real value that's generated other than operational efficiencies is definitely a question in the oil and gas business that we have to ask ourselves before sort of massively investing in it. So thank you very much.
Thanks. You mentioned the base load. This will be one of the key topics that we are going to cover in our report. Dear colleagues, I have one invited speaker left, which is LinkedIn. And after that, I will, if anybody wants to make a contribution, please raise your flag. And I will give the floor to a couple of colleagues to address this issue. But the last invited speaker is Mrs. Sue Duke, who is the Vice President of LinkedIn. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Birol. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to that discussion. At LinkedIn, we have over 1 billion members on our platform across the world. And as you can imagine, that allows us to see in real time and in real detail what's going on there out in the labour market. And these twin transitions that we're speaking about today on digital and green, we can see very, very clearly how they're manifesting out there amongst how companies are working, hiring, what skills workers are requiring, and how jobs are changing. And historically, when we look back at when there have been these big transitions, Dr. Birol mentioned the Industrial Revolution in his opening remarks, typically what we have seen is that there's a significant lag between these advancements, between these transitions and the labour market. So there is a significant skills gap and time to catch up so that workers are going to have the skills that they need to take advantage of these transitions, and companies and economies are going to have the skills that they need to power those transitions. And that is precisely what we see right now playing out when it comes to the interplay between digital and green and between AI and sustainability itself. When we look at, give you a concrete example of that, when we look back over the past 18, 24 months, across most developed economies, we have seen a significant slowdown in hiring. Some exceptions to that, some geographic and some sectoral exceptions to that, but typically that's what you're seeing big picture. That is very much not the case when it comes to green skills, and it is very much not the case when you look at AI skills. The growth in the demand for those two kinds of skills is off the charts in our platform over the past number of years. Just this year, when we look at green skills, again, broader economy, we've seen a slowdown across the board. When we look at green skills, we've seen an almost 12% year-on-year increase in that demand. And we look at AI-specific related hiring, we have seen an over 300% increase in the demand for those skills over the past number of years. So those two transitions and the interplay between the two are very, very clearly reshaping the labour market out there, the demand for skills and the demands for the kind of workers that we need today and we're going to need into the future. But that historic lag that we have typically seen, we are also starting to see that manifest. So both in the areas of sustainability and in the area of AI, we are already starting to see a shortage of workers with those skills, with that expertise, with that know-how. And we specifically see a shortage of workers with those skills when it comes to the interplay between the two. So when we look, for example, at the utility sector, obviously going to be a very, very key sector in everything that we're speaking about here this morning, we have seen a double in the share of demand for workers with those skills across the European Union over the past couple of years. And when we look at the technology sector, just this year, it has been the single highest sector demanding workers with green skills, and with a 60% increase, and we fully expect that to continue to grow. The challenge we have is that we do not have the supply out there. Green hiring for workers with those sustainability skills is currently double the pace of the supply of skills coming through, and we're seeing something very similar starting to manifest when it comes to AI skills. So we come at this from a very, very simple perspective, which is all of the challenge that we're talking about here today and looking to overcome, and all of the opportunities that we're looking to realise simply will not happen if we do not have the workers with the skills, the know-how and the expertise that we need to drive these two transitions. Our focus, therefore, is very much on working with the IEA and with partners right across this table to figure out how can we compress that lag. How can we figure out where is the demand coming? What are the specific skills that we are going to need to meet that demand? Where are the gaps? And how do we pinpoint our interventions in partnership with the public sector, with the private sector, with civil society, so that we can ensure workers are going to have the skills and expertise they need to take advantage of these transitions, and economies are going to have the workers that they need to be able to power through. And we very much look forward to working directly with Dr. Birol and his team on some work in this area, as well as with many of you around the table in that work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stück, for highlighting a dimension that we have not discussed up to now, which is a very key one, the skill gap. So thank you very much for highlighting this challenge. I mean, we have seen so many challenges here, the last one being an additional one. I think we heard from, if I am not wrong, from NVIDIA as well, the challenge of the skill engineers and labor extremely critical when we want to, if we want to see AI becoming a good, sustainable part of our energy system, and an energy system supporting AI to rise further in an efficient and sustainable way. So, dear colleagues, we have, as usual, when I chair a session, we are running late. So, therefore, if you allow me, we have 5 colleagues. I will give the floor for 2 minutes because we are going to have other great sessions. I would like to start with the Schneider Electric, Mr. Sharma. 2 minutes. Where is Mr. Sharma? Over to you for 2 minutes, please.
I'm right here. Thank you for having us in this room. And first of all, I have to say that I run the data center business for Schneider Electric, so I'm feeling no pressure. Today, everybody here is talking about data centers. But you know, within Schneider, it's been in our DNA, which is sustainability, for the longest period of time. And it was way before sustainability became a very savvy topic all around the world. Now, with the advent of AI, it becomes even more important, even more profound. And I've heard a lot already and some really good conversations, but I want to insist that there is really a way forward here. And I'll just quickly pick on one or two examples. The first one I'll take is what Luke shared, Luke from EDF, he shared about ability of the data centers to take multiple sources of power. That technology exists. And there is work which we are doing as a company in making sure we are able to take those technologies. There's another example which Madam Ambassador from France, she shared about the amount of water being consumed. There is technology in the AI world for these AI data centers where if you use liquid cooling, it's a closed water loop. So which means you don't have to continue to take in water on a constant basis, and hence that problem can also be solved. Now, overall, for Schneider Electric, what we do is we look at this challenge and we look at it as IEA, no pun intended, I being infrastructure and technology, which is building data centers which are sustainable data centers. I spoke a lot about technology already. E being efficiency. How do we build these data centers efficiently by using software, by using digital twins, and so on? And finally, the accountability, A being accountability. And for that, I think governance plays a very, very important role. This is a great starting point where all of us are around the table. I think the next step now is how do technology companies, the various governments, and all of us work together to make sure governance is put in a format that we feel accountable towards it. So I did my 2 minutes, and thank you, Dr. Fatih.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sharma. I agree everything what you say, but IEA, we may want to change the name a bit if we perhaps you find something else. So the IEA is unique as far as we are concerned. So thank you very much for that. Now, may I go to the Madam Commissioner of African Union to her to hear her views, followed by Korea, please. Madam Commissioner, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Birol. Allow me at the outset to express really my gratitude for inviting us to this important session. And maybe my title will show here as Infrastructure and Energy, but also I'm the Commissioner for Digitalization. So you understand how thrilled I am to discuss this topic with you today. Dr. Birol, you started with a number saying that AI represents AI economy will be of the order of $15–16 trillion. And may I add also that AI has the power to double the GDP of countries. So you imagine the impact of AI and impact of AI economy on our economies in Africa. And and its ability to power our development and accelerate our poverty reduction efforts. In July of this year, the African heads of states adopted an Africa AI-wide strategy, aiming at harnessing at least 10% of this AI economy by the year 2035. That is on the AI side. So again, this discussion is very timely as it ties very well with the work that we are currently starting on AI at the scale of a continent that is Africa. Now, the recent advancements in AI also are redefining the traditional approaches across the energy value chain and transforming everything and creating new opportunities for us. So it's not just about what we lack in energy, but also the way AI can accelerate our energy access and energy transition efforts. And we have very high hopes, and we are working on, developing the tools or how AI can provide, new tools to and offer unprecedented opportunities to address the complexity of Africa's energy landscape, enabling data-driven decisions, minimizing waste, and expanding access, as I said. However, I wanted to, everyone has been talking about the need for energy, to power AI. This is where we see AI as an opportunity for Africa. Let us remind ourselves that Africa is abundant with sources of renewable energy. And we started already 2 years ago through our Smart Africa initiative to work on green data centers. And we want Africa to be the host and land of green data centers. So AI can also offer fantastic opportunities for our continent. And for that, of course, we have to rethink so many of our, investment opportunities, our landscape in that regard. Develop skills and locally, and this is an invitation also to all those who are around the table, particularly from the private sector, to join us in this effort in terms of technology transfer and capacity building and upskilling or skilling our population, because we want to create value and we want to use AI also as an opportunity for the world. I mean, through Africa. Now, important matter is cybersecurity, and it was talked about before, but I want to make sure that our cybersecurity policy aims to ensure that Africa's security in both the physical and the digital world are, in all parts of society, and acknowledging also the need for specific sector-specific initiatives for energy when it comes to security. And I'd add that, some challenges were mentioned here, but AI-powered energy require specific things like real-time requirements, cascading effects, especially in our case, we are developing interconnected grids and gas pipelines. So that's an added pressure or added challenge for us. The legacy, where it exists, in our continent, how to fit the new technologies or these state-of-the-art equipment and for automation, for control, smart meters, and so on and so forth, how to fit them into our existing systems. But then again, we have developed, as I mentioned, an AI strategy for the continent. We are also going very fast in our single electricity market, an Africa-wide single electricity market, with a master plan to be operationalized by 2040. And we see very well the role of AI into the work that we are doing on this regard. And last but not least, we need different type of investments because investment that is, adhere to innovation and dear to modern systems. Now, Excellencies and distinguished participants, allow me to use this opportunity because this is the last time I will be addressing you as an African Union Commissioner since my mandate ends in February, and allow me here to thank IEA for an excellent partnership that started on 25th of May in 2018. So through this time, IEA said and delivered on everything that was in that famous MOU that we signed together in the premises of the Australia Embassy, amplifying the voice of Africa, making sure that we develop Africa-focused work either in data or in policy or in energy outlook, and also innovation. As I would like to thank you all, and I will invite you to continue your engagement with Africa, Africa that is not defined by shortages or challenges, that is defined by opportunities, huge ones, as a matter of fact. With that, I thank you all also for your friendship, and I conclude here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Commissioner, first of all, for your great leadership throughout these years and the great cooperation we had with you and with the African Union in general. Looking forward to continue to work with Africa, African Union, and also with yourself, Madam Commissioner. Thank you very much. So, dear colleagues, I can only give the word, unfortunately, to 3 colleagues now, the Korea, Italy, and the University of Columbia, and I have to finish it. May I go to Korea now? Mr. Ambassador, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to all. And I'm Sang-dae Choi, Korean Ambassador to the OECD. And also many thanks, Dr. Birol and AI team for convening this timely and crucial discussion. And my main point today, currently and in the future, it is getting more and more closely interlinked among three agendas: AI, energy, and climate change addressing. So I think we need to consider the nexus among those three agendas with more systematic, more data evidence-based, and more cooperative manner. And first, the growing demand for advanced digital technologies, specifically AI, results in tremendous energy consumption. I'd like to underscore clean energy transitions must be harmonized with digital carbon neutrality. By saying this term, I refer to the operational efficiency of digital industries and the optimization of digital infrastructure, including AI and platform services, hardware, software, and networking tools. Second, establishing a sustainable power supply to accommodate the increasing energy demands of digital industries is imperative. It is essential to provide a stable electricity supply by leveraging diverse carbon-free energy sources, including renewable energy, nuclear power, hydrogen, and other clean energy sources. Especially, I'd like to underscore a more active utilization of nuclear energy, including SMR. I do believe without effective energy portfolio strategy, rapid AI development could endanger the carbon neutrality trajectory among countries around the world. And closing, and I'd like to underscore cooperation between countries and international organizations is essential for all these efforts to come to fruition. And Korea is honored to chair the upcoming APEC Energy Ministerial and Clean Energy Ministerial and Mission Innovation Ministerial meetings next year. And these platforms will allow us to foster deeper international dialogue on energy for AI and AI for energy, as well as reinforce our cooperation with the IEA. The show must go on, and it will. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. We liked it. The show must go on, of course. We will contribute to the show in a positive sense. All this international fora you are going to organize related to energy and other issues, and looking forward to next year to support those initiatives from Korea. Now, may I go to the Italy, Ambassador Sabatucci. Italy recently chaired the G7 summit. Looking forward to hear your views, Mr. Ambassador.
Teşekkür ederim Fatih Bey. Dear colleagues, as it has been said, AI is transforming the energy sector, and it will be an essential tool to accelerate the energy transition and energy security globally. As far as the Italian energy sector is concerned, we are already fully engaged in delivering AI solutions. Let me provide some examples. AI has already been used to optimize production and storage of energy. Its use, combined with that of robots and drones, can enable faster, safer, and more effective inspections for all types of power plants. It is also a fundamental tool for energy trading and for management and optimization of both grids and energy consumption, also leveraging on smart metering solutions. Italy is in fact at the forefront with the ongoing deployment of the second generation of smart meters. And in this regard, dear colleagues, I take this opportunity to recall the importance of the 3DEN initiative, Digital Demand-Driven Electricity Networks Initiative, coordinated and financed by the Italian Ministry of the Environment and Energy Security and implemented by the IEA and UNEP. 3DAN is aimed at the dissemination of digital and smart systems in emerging economies and developing countries. In the context of the 2024, the G7, the Italian presidency mentioned by Fatih Birol, we have placed a significant emphasis on the link between artificial intelligence and climate, energy, environment, also mentioned by the Korean colleagues. In fact, AI has been explicitly mentioned in the final communiqué of the G7 Climate, Energy and Environment Ministerial, when we have committed, quoting, to promote and share emerging transformative capacity using artificial intelligence and machine learning to improve the complementary use of environmental data for climate, energy, and environment decision-making. To conclude, AI is already profoundly transforming the energy sector, and we think that it is utmost importance to foster deployment of AI solutions for energy transition and energy security, striking a necessary balance between innovation and protection of data, individuals, and assets. And the IEA Global Conference on Energy is a very good step in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Congratulations for your the G7 presidency and its achievements, but also linking it to African Union Commissioner's remarks. Congratulations and thank you for keeping an eye on Africa's developments as Italy. So much appreciated, Mr. Ambassador. Dear colleagues, we talk about heard about the energy sector, heard from the tech sector, we heard about the governments, but we have also several academic colleagues here from academia. On behalf of them, if I may ask the Professor Jason Bordoff, who is the Center of Global Energy Policy in Columbia University. Jason, would you like to say a few words to frame this discussion, please?
Thank you, Fatih, for the chance to speak on behalf of academics. And I may be all that stands between this room and coffee, so that's a high bar, and I'll be brief. I just wanted to offer a reflection on what I heard this morning that perhaps can help focus and guide the discussion as it continues this afternoon. Many people have said how timely it is that we're coming together this week in Paris, and I was reflecting on just how true that is. Not only, of course, because it is the home of the IEA, so we come together in the primary venue for discussing energy security, the energy transition, and cooperation, but we come together when the government has fallen, because governments have no money, and the smallest measures to try to close those fiscal holes are causing a backlash from populations that are concerned about inflation and costs, including energy costs. We come together this week in Paris, and when it's cold. And as a result of it being cold, energy is expensive, and natural gas prices are about twice what they were earlier this year. And we come together this week when world leaders are going to gather in a day or two to celebrate the monumental achievement that is the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral, the symbol of this country, which is a reminder of how extraordinarily fast we can move when something is important, and how quickly, with astonishing speed, that cathedral could be reopened. So money, energy, and speed is what's going on in Paris this week. And the problem is it's hard to do all of those things at the same time. And so that's the challenge we face, and that I think I heard everyone talk about this morning. But I want to look at it as glass half full, because with that challenge, I think, comes at least three enormous opportunities. So the first are the massive technology companies that are in this room, and you heard this morning how deeply committed they are to their green commitments, and how much money they have and are willing to spend on energy. The problem is they have to move fast. And we heard about how long it takes to build transmission. We know how long it takes to build nuclear. If you want to move fast and you're thinking in time frames of months, not years, You're talking about natural gas, at least in the country where I come from. And we do need to have a conversation about how we think about navigating the tension between our climate goals and how quickly we need to move, and permitting reform, shortening the nuclear regulatory process, the backlash from ratepayers we might see, depending on who bears the cost of all this new infrastructure. But the opportunity we have is how much interest there is now from a whole new sector to deploy more energy and make that clean energy. The second opportunity is that this is a conversation not just about energy, but about national security and economic competitiveness. If you look at the announcement of Chris Wright, our new energy secretary in the United States, presumably, it was not just about energy dominance and oil and gas. It talked about winning the AI arms race with China. It talked about cutting red tape. It talked about innovation. And there is now a sense that deploying energy at speed and scale to ensure competitiveness in the emerging technology of AI is in the national security interest of governments around this table, including my own. And the truth is, as much as I wished we moved with a sense of urgency about climate change, that we should, when there is an imperative for national security and economic competitiveness, governments jump through hoops in ways they don't always for climate. So that's an opportunity. And the third opportunity is the enormous, as we heard this morning, opportunity AI presents to just accelerate the pace of clean energy deployment and utilization, and to better understand and mitigate the impacts of climate change. And my colleague who's here, David Sandlow, has done phenomenal work in that and released a major report at COP29 about that. So those opportunities of deploying clean energy faster, of embracing the imperative of national security, and of AI for climate, that guides the work we do in our AI and energy program at Columbia University Center on Global Energy Policy, and I hope we can get deeper into that this afternoon in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Bordov. So, dear colleagues, this is the end of this session. I am very sorry a couple of countries and the companies couldn't speak, but next session we will start with those. I know Singapore, Ireland, and Alfa Laval here, at least some of them, and my colleagues have noted. So we have, I don't know you, but we have, as the IEA experts say, we have benefited a lot from the views, expectations, requests from these three different groupings, from the energy sector, from the tech sector, and from the governments. And in our report, we are trying to look at all these three perspectives. And today, at the end of this meeting, I am going to present a one page of a chair summary, which is under the responsibility of the IEA, which we hope that it can provide the basis for different fora taking place on this very issue. So if I may, I would like to invite all of you for a cafe and a croissant outside, and we will be back 12:15. Thank you very much.